There we are.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. My name's Jamie, and
I'm Michael.
And we're two of one.
We are.
How you doing, Michael?
I'm well.
I haven't seen Michael all week.
Yep.
And what are we doing today, Michael?
We are doing the moon.
We are doing the moon. That's amazing. So, how was your week? How's your deck coming? Michael's making a deck.
It's very good.
Yes.
I am in the process of now that I've finished updating the ones that I've already done. Now I'm recolorizing the ones that I've already done.
Oh my gosh.
My significant other, my wife, she's just like, do something new. I'm like, but I have to fix these first.
It's magic. You can't rush magic.
I know, but they're coming along nicely.
Oh my gosh. So that's kind of why we're doing this, isn't
Yes.
it? Because your wife is good. So why are we doing this, Michael? To save our relationships, because we used to get together for dinner and talk for hours about his new deck.
Yes,
And
always in process.
Yeah, always.
One day we'll be done.
And our significant others were like, okay, why don't you guys just do a podcast or something and just stop talking about it while we're together? It's like,
okay.
So me and Michael have not talked all week about the tarot at all. Actually, it'd kind of be nice when you finally put your deck out so that
we could just have
dinner
random conversations.
and random conversations about the decks.
Indeed.
So my gosh. So we are doing the moon.
Number 18.
Number 18. So, anything interesting that you found historically?
Historically, well, you know me. I always tend towards what you may not consider historic, more the occult and the magic, and because I mean the moon is just it calls to all those things.
It absolutely does, and even historically, and you got to consider it's like the moon has always had that mystique. Is it a god? Is it a goddess?
Right.
You know, I mean, and so when I'm looking at the tarot cards, my goal is to also try and understand how they would have been read originally, using intuition, things like that, before the books were written. And so I like looking at the history of stuff and seeing what would they have thought, what was their mindset. So
right, and I mean the dark has always been more fearsome.
Afraid of the dark.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, more courage during the day than at night. So the whole idea of the moon being spooky, it is there.
Or the moon actually being what gives us light.
That's the way I like to see it. So a lot of the historically interpretations of the moon is you'll see it always being referred to as negative or as bad. But I prefer to see it as very positive.
Right.
I see the moon as the other half to the sun. So the feminine qualities, not negative qualities, just the other side. And like a coin, and the moon is one side, and the sun is the other.
The moon is really truly one of the cards that you bring to it. Whatever you bring to it is what that card is. That's true. So if you have fears and anxiety, the moon represents that through the shadows.
Right.
Or if you're ready for a journey and you're ready and confident,
and you have the faith,
then you've got the faith, then you can actually walk through the shadow.
Exactly.
As walk through the shadow of fear, for
the darkness, and
shut off your evil and all that wonderful stuff like that.
Exactly.
And so even as people back in the in Italy, as they're making these cards, I mean, the Bible is referenced for everything, and they would have, the Bible is full of references to the moon. And I mean, just starting off in Genesis, God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. So right in the beginning, we get the moon, and the moon just follows through because it's a calendar.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the light at night.
Yep.
And when it's not there, it's our fears. So the card is so amazingly layered.
Yeah. And
you can't say it's good. You can't say it's bad.
Right. I mean, even when there's, it's hard to see stars. The moon usually is yeah, your nightlight up there. It's that beacon of safety.
As long as the clouds aren't obscuring. And then
true.
again, your beacon of safety becomes
obscured. Yep, exactly.
Because you can't see again in the shadows.
Yeah.
So wanted to look at some of the older cards.
Okay, yeah.
So, and what I did was I was looking, and what have you got there
I've got the Minchiate.
Yes. Here, I'm going to flip this around like this so we can do the two camera.
All right.
And what year is that?
Minchiate is, let's see, that goes back 15th century through, let's see, 1466 is the earliest documentation of lost Minchiati style cards. The earliest examples that we have go, I think we gotta wait till.
Well, yeah, so we've got the
much
ones from
later.
1470s.
Yeah.
We've got the, so we have the Minchiati.
But yeah.
Which is not, it is a tarot game deck of its own, Tarotchi, but it doesn't have all the same cards and things like that.
Yeah, the first, like, instead of the magician and the high priestess and the emperor empress, we get 4 emperors instead. But other than that, all the other cards that we know are represented, plus a whole bunch more.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
So that's one of the earliest, and here we can see actually the moon is, we've got the astronomer,
Yep.
which we see going through.
Is measuring.
Here we are with the
compasses.
Estes in 1475.
Yeah.
So here's 1475 where we can see that, now the lone dude here.
This the star, though?
That is the moon. This is considered the moon.
Oh, I thought that was the star card.
Nope.
Interesting.
Oh.
I think it is the star card.
You're right. What happened to my... Oh.
You're in the wrong PowerPoint.
I'm in the wrong PowerPoint. So, yes. You did that.
No, I swear. It was not me.
Yep, I went into the star. We want... the moon.
The moon.
Because the moon is in the 7th house. So, let me pull that up. Silly me.
No worries.
Okay, so, tap dance.
Da, 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 da. What else we got?
So
I like to see, what I was saying with faith and hope. So as the star was hope, I see the moon as faith, because you see, in witchcraft, and the witches would get around. They'd have their espits every full moon, so it's a linked to their faith, linked to their spirituality is the moon. The cycles are would flow with the calendar, and then the tides and the bodily functions, even all tied up with those moon currents.
right.
So it was a big part of their faith. The witches to the moon. So I see as the stars hope.
Hold on,
and the moon is faith.
Okay, so the witches, but you're talking about undocumented.
Well, I mean,
But Shakespeare's witches under the moonlight,
right?
And Shakespeare mentions. So we have the mythology of witches. We have the mythology of the fairies. We have the mythology. Shakespeare's got the moon all through it.
Sure. Juliet is the sun.
Yes. So here we go. So here is, we do have the Visconti. So here's the late 1400s, 1475, somewhere around there. Whereas the other ones, as you shown with that, and some of the other decks, the older decks that I have right here.
Visconti.
We do see that we have the moon gazers for the Charles VI.
Yeah.
So here we have the Charles VI, and again we have the astronomers, and this is the Estes. This is the one I was showing before. So, and again, that's about 1450s. So the astronomers were really the popular ones. It didn't happen, and we didn't come across the one that we're familiar with until later.
Exactly.
So, and that would be coming along when your Carrie Yales and the sheets come along. And I do not have the Carrie Yale here. Did you bring yours?
No,
Okay.
because that card didn't exist in the Carrie Yale. It was a recreation. So
Well, no, okay, yeah, it was the was it the Rothschild? Anyway,
Yeah.
So that was the big thing, and then finally we start looking here, and we go into the. Boy, my history is all messed up with this.
no worries.
Okay, so here we got into the 1659s.
Yeah, the Noble.
So we start coming into finally something that we start to recognize.
Yeah. Now this one's packed with lots of symbology that I can talk about. So the crawfish signifies.
And I got some good stuff too.
Okay, I'm sure you do. This is us. We're crawling out of this.
Well, now you're going into interpretations.
I am.
Yes.
But you don't want to.
I actually have history to go with it first.
All right.
So, what is the crab?
Well, I was
Not psychologically,
Okay.
and not as an interpretation.
a crayfish.
A crayfish. Yes. What is that?
Something you put butter on. No, I don't know.
It's the crab from the Book of Hours. So there's a French Book of Hours that is a manuscript, and so this often is represented as Cancer.
Okay, so
that's where we see this image here.
you're
So the
tying it to the astrology.
right, and so I'm tying it into the history because the Carrie sheet, the picture that I had actually shows the crawfish. So the Carrie sheet does have this one.
Okay.
Yes, and so you see this in the Book of Hours. You see this type of crab in a lot of medieval type artwork.
Sure.
Okay, whenever you're representing the astrology of it. So we've got that.
But I mean, but it's not necessarily the Cancer, the crab. It's more of a crawfish or a lobster.
We're going with but when it's represented in art, it is a fact that this is considered as Cancer. They don't just throw into an astrology card like this a crab for the heck of it. No. No. They're familiar with this crab as Cancer.
All right.
Well, no, I can show you footnotes and documentation if you would like.
Please.
Okay, just look up the Book of Hours.
The Book of Hours, but
and
that's
Cancer, and you will see the pictures
that's not-
from before this.
and not to.
And they look like this. So where you're coming from, where are you seeing yours?
Where am I seeing what?
Well, okay, you're saying this is not Cancer, and this is not. This
No.
is just a
I'm
crab.
not. I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm just saying that it's a crawfish until
It's a popular motif in the Middle Ages
for
Cancer.
Cancer.
It's a popular motif in the Middle Ages for Cancer.
The crawfish.
The crawfish.
Okay.
Yes.
All
I mean, I can pull out my reading the
I
Marseille
believe-
and show
I
you
believe
more
you.
where it actually has other pictures.
I believe you. So why Cancer, the crawfish for the moon?
That we don't know why. No. Okay. I don't know.
I don't
Because it's
either.
part of the, actually, we do. Hold on.
What do you know?
Because something about the moon is probably something about the moon and the zodiac sign with Cancer, but I can't remember what I read about that.
Okay.
But we're dealing with astrologers. We're dealing with the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not dealing with people who go fishing on Thursdays to make a card. So
Maybe.
okay,
I'm just
all right.
I'm just saying that you either like to ascribe ideas
No,
and
it's not me that's a.
Okay, well, okay.
I'm going through documentation.
You can. We can either use these symbols and say that they mean these things, or we can say that everything is meaningless and it's just a bunch of
It all has. We add the mystical meanings Once we get to the Geblin,
Sure.
once we get to Levi, then we
Sure.
start adding the magic.
And I can't wait for that
But
part.
prior to that, we have to have a historical context, if possible.
If possible.
And so this crab is seen in the Book of Hours quite often.
But the Book of Hours isn't a tarot deck.
No, the Book of Hours is a piece of art that represents the fact that this crab is part of the Renaissance psyche. They see this as
They
Cancer.
think of Cancer. But why Cancer linked to the moon? That's my question.
Well, and that I do not know.
Don't know. Okay.
Okay.
For
But
some reason.
it makes more sense that
Okay.
an astrology card like this
Uh-huh.
would have a representation of Cancer, the crab, than just having a lobster.
That is true. But my question would be, why does Cancer get the spotlight and not Virgo or Leo or
Don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do we get two towers?
Well, I have my speculation later, but that comes later.
So anyway, because we always go back and forth. My deal is that when the cards were made before Levi, before the Geblin, there is no mystical meanings.
And what I like to say is that there might have been mystical meanings. We don't have any documentation of those. So we don't have facts to back up the idea that these were used for other than playing games. But I like to speculate that if you were going to play games, you would use just...
We need to spend an hour just on
talking that.
Okay,
I know, because we talk about it all the time.
We got our point across.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But
so
the point,
anyway.
But if it's just for playing cards, you could do that a lot simply than these fancy triumph cards.
Not necessarily, because the Visconti cards and things like that were vanity decks. And again, they didn't have the crab.
Okay,
but they were vanity decks, so that anyway. Let's move on.
All right.
Let's just move on.
Okay.
So, the crab Book of Hours, it's in there.
I believe.
So, what else did you? I want to focus on the esoteric side.
Absolutely.
I just want to look at the history, because then we're going into the 1700s.
Right.
I want to know what the people were thinking. I mean, I'm thinking linear.
We don't know.
We're doing a timeline.
Yeah, of course. I get that, but we don't know what they were thinking. Were they thinking?
No, but the artwork is there.
Absolutely. So we can speculate. I don't know.
You know what? Forget it. Okay? It's Cancer the crab. It's that obvious.
Okay, but why? We don't know.
We don't know the particular reason why.
Okay.
But it's a popular motif. And can you accept that?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I can accept.
That's all I'm saying. And so why it's there, I don't know.
We don't know.
Okay. So.
Can we go through things we do know?
We do.
Okay.
So, what else do you know? And I want to get into the esoteric.
Okay.
I just want to cover the history of the artwork and what their mindset might have been then.
But we don't know their mindset, so let's move on.
It's art history. We can understand art history.
We can.
Okay? Because there's facts, there's documentation, there's people that get degrees in it.
Yes.
Okay? There's people that can speculate all they want, but if they don't have a footnote and a foundation, I'm going to pretend it means something, and if I say it, that means it's true.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that. Why is it interesting?
We don't know why they did a lot of stuff on the tarot deck. We know that. We don't have the facts. They didn't document it and write it down.
That's true.
Okay, so I'm looking at the art history.
Yeah.
What was the mindset? So that's all. Okay.
Okay.
So, as far as we have the dogs. Why the dogs?
I think one of them's a wolf, but go on.
Well, I'm asking. Okay. Absolutely, and I agree with you there.
Okay.
But because what about Diana?
Well, Diana,
mythology.
She absolutely had her hounds. Yeah. So
she had her hounds.
Yeah.
So, and she was the goddess of the moon. She was, the Greek version of Selena.
Yeah.
Okay, so if she's a representation of the moon, then the hounds make sense with that because we have all that documented, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So I mean, that is an option.
Yeah.
And then another thing that possibly with the dogs, and I love this. I love this part, is that the French have a saying that it speculates go back to the 2nd century, but
Yeah.
they do have it attributed to the 13th century. But entretien et loup, which I've just
Something like that.
blown away my
Something
French.
like that.
This is cool though.
It's very cool.
It's a French expression
Yeah.
that means too dark to distinguish between a dog and a
The wolf.
wolf. So it's twilight.
It's twilight time.
It's twilight. As James Nan, who's a performance artist, he explained the French phrase when he was growing up. He says it's used to express a relationship between domestic and wild, between known and unknown, between fear and security.
Exactly.
But literally, it means too dark to distinguish between a wolf
and a dog.
Yep.
And I love
dog
that
and a
too.
wolf, yes.
Yeah, and that is
So it's ENTRECHIEN et loup.
yeah, a famous French expression. But and that is something that I share your enthusiasm for.
We don't know if that's what, but it definitely looks like one is possibly a dog and one is a wolf.
Yeah, and that
And
fits
the French
into
cards, so that I think is cool.
that is definitely cool.
Okay.
And now, what's the deal with these things?
So there's speculation as to what they could be.
Yes. What have you heard? Because I'll tell you what I hear.
So the droplets, they could be moisture that's evaporating, heading upwards.
Okay, hold on.
Yep. And I've got multiple things.
Okay. Evaporation heading upwards would come with the sun, because the sun.
I agree. I agree. That's why. Yeah.
Right. So, when back in the day, before they knew any better, they thought that the moon created dew.
That's exactly it. Yep.
So, so I was always confused why it looks like the droplets are going up when they should probably be going down, because this is the moon creating dew, because they didn't know any better and they woke up and then there's dew on the ground. Oh, the moon must have been busy last night. They didn't know, but whatever. But that's the whole idea, is that the moon is a dew creator. But then why are they going up?
Okay, well, think of it like this also.
Okay.
What if they are, because we both agree that the Renaissance alchemist people believe that the moon created dew.
Right.
That is known, and that's why they say that dew was the had life-giving properties, and why dew was considered an alchemical ingredient.
Right. Moon water and all that good stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, in our reference, it looks like they're going up, but it could be that they're darts coming down, because this isn't the only card that has those. Mm-hmm. So if we look at it as shooting out, they would be darts of moisture coming forward. Now that one's
okay.
that one is from J.M. Davidson, where he talks about that because of the other cards that also have it.
Yeah.
So it could be arrows shooting out, but of course we don't know.
Right. That's a stretch, maybe.
Yep. So and the other reason for dew, and this is an interesting thing. So, in Greek mythology, do you know who the goddess of dew was?
I don't.
Ursa, E-R-S-A, the goddess of dew. Do you know who her mother was?
This sounds really familiar.
She is the daughter of the moon goddess Selene, which is the equivalent of Luna.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
the Greek mythology, so this ties in with the Greek mythology of Ursa, the goddess of dew, coming from her mother,
Selene. And Selene is part of the triple goddess, so you have Hecate, Selene, and Artemis, which is the triple goddess.
Yep. See, now isn't history interesting?
Yeah, of course.
Well, we tie it through. Because, so other cards do give us Selene, as in, where was it? Oh, here we go. Yep, it's called Luna here.
Yeah.
So here we can actually see, and we see that her's represented there.
That looks probably more like Diana, because she's got the bow.
Right, exactly, yes.
She's got the bow.
So that is the Greek version of it.
Yeah.
That's from 1893.
Yeah.
So, but yes. So, and let's see. We got and you were going to talk about the towers. Well, did you have a historical? I couldn't find a historical reason for it.
I don't have a historic reason, but I definitely have lots of esoteric interpretations of the towers.
So one thing that, again, in reading the Marseille Tarot by Davis, he does show that somebody had speculated that there's a place in Italy that almost looks like this card, but if you look at any valley where there's two, so he's thinking that this probably represented a location. We don't know. But, the speculation is that, maybe it represents a location.
Maybe.
So,
maybe not.
So we've got that one. Did you, before I just bounce on through the rest and then we can go to the esoteric stuff.
Yeah. That's the fun part.
So we've got the Noble, and then we have the 1760, which pretty much follows the Noble. And then we go into the Basquiat area, the Swiss Tarot from 1831. And then 1880. Again, we have the dogs. But we have here, it's an anonymous author from Italy. Instead, now we have a real lobster.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying.
On a plate.
On a plate. I just happen to think that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then, then we start going into more of the modern era and the esoteric. So here we have the Oswald Wirth. And he's basing his basically on the Convert. The Convert was the one that was the most popular one with the esoterists until they started developing their own.
Right.
And so you can see that Waite started making his based on that. And then we have
but going to the Oswald Wirth, you'll notice that there's, do you see the path is red speckled? Yep. So that
now we start to see an obvious path.
Yeah, well, there's an obvious path, but it's speckled with they what some believe is blood. Again, those menstrual ideas of connecting to the moon, those monthly patterns.
Oh, I never thought of that. Okay.
And also, it was you'll see with some decks, the moon will be white, the path will be red, and then the lobster will be coming out of the water that is black. And that's an alchemical kind of idea of white being the celestial, the red being the middle earth, the middle, reality, and then the black being the subconscious. So not necessarily in that deck, but right. You'll see this in other esoteric decks.
So one question I have about the moon in all these decks.
Yeah.
So we know that when we have we know that the crescent means something, but in these decks, we see the moon as, a crescent here. Mm-hmm. But is this an eclipse? Is it like a solar eclipse where we have the sun here and the moon darkening the sun?
That's a possibility.
So I was looking at that because I wanted to understand why are we representing, because to me it always looked like the sun.
Yeah.
We don't know, obviously, but if we look at this, it really does kind of look like
an eclipse.
Which bring it in the darkness.
People are calling us nerdy.
We are.
Hey there. Yes, I'm definitely into the Kabbalah, all the esoteric stuff, and I hope to get into some of that a little bit later. We'd like to go through the history part first.
And actually, so Facebook just caught up here. And so we have Elizabeth here. The ruler of Cancer is the moon in astrology. I knew there was a tie in that.
The ruler
of Cancer is the moon in astrology.
Okay.
That's what it was. So we have something. The moon rules Cancer, why Aquarius was with the star, or Gemini with the sun. Elizabeth also says it's all about the emotions, and salty, our private zone. Yes. And Cancer. And that's what it was. Thank you for reminding me of what that was. I should have actually documented that.
Yes, you should have.
But that ties it in again.
Okay.
And she's right. I did read that.
Yeah. I'm not as astrology is one of my weaker fields of study. So thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah. And for me, I've almost purposefully avoided. I mean, I have a lot of knowledge in all the areas and things like that, but I've really focused my study on intuition.
Yes.
Before the first books were written, before, you would have somebody. I like that idea of a soothsayer seeing a tarot deck for the first time and saying, this means something.
Absolutely.
And not having a book to go by.
Right.
It fascinates me because I'm an intuitive.
And absolutely, I am too. And that's the best way to read, in my opinion, any tarot deck is just with your gut instincts first. And,
Right.
And you don't have to be the scholar. Of course, it helps to have as much knowledge as you have.
Absolutely. And
but
so that's where I'm all pro, I am pro the esoteric side in that we have, as the Golden Dawn would teach, the correspondences.
Absolutely.
What you see on earth can be represented in heaven. So
as above, so below.
As the heavens move, then that means that what's on earth will reflect. And if I can read the stars, it's going to reflect on the correspondence here on earth.
Yes.
So I think all that is just fascinating to read.
It totally is.
So that's why I understand the true importance of why some people are absolutely into the astrology, and we have it in the cards. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So can I go into, since we've already covered the history now, and
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
can I go into some speculation now?
Yes.
Okay. So for the going back to the earliest decks, the crawfish is in this water, and we know that the water represents the subconscious. We see it flowing from the high priestess out to every card. So this is the collective unconsciousness, and this is us. The crawfish is represents us, and we're rising out of the deep.
Yeah.
To go, between these two towers, between the two dogs, to the enlightenment of the moon. The mountains that you see in later cards, like the Rider-Waite, represent spiritual attainment, and the towers, the boundaries of the known, which you must pass. And the dew here has been turned into yods. But
Yeah.
let's see, the pictorial key to the tarot from Waite says that, was mentioning that whole creating of dew thing that I was talking about earlier. Wanted to make sure I represent, and with a footnote there. But the whereas the star was trusting the universe, your hope. The moon is trusting in yourself. That with the faith aspects again to it. That at least that's the way that I see it.
Right. So you want to see? Okay. So here's my intuitive, artistic side.
Yeah.
So I put it like this, but the moon card, if you look at this, is a reflection of its own creation by layers. That's when I saw this is how I had to put it, because I'm also a poet and a writer.
Yes.
The moon card reflected in its creation by layers. The card itself is a crayfish. The card itself is a crayfish.
The whole card?
Think of the moon if it was the head.
Okay. And the arms would be the
towers are the arms, and then you have the tail here. So if you actually use your imagination, you have the crayfish here, but it's actually reflected as a whole. The head, the arms, the tail. Am I wrong?
There is no right or wrong.
No. I'm saying, but artistically, I mean,
that is
mentally,
definitely
I see
one
that,
way. Yep.
And it's like, wow, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it really is like the crayfish is reflected in the whole card.
It can be.
I know, and that's just me. That has nothing to do with what anybody says. I just think that is like the coolest looking thing in the world. Once my imagination kicked in, so I thought I would share that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no.
So what else you got on that one?
Okay, so the differences between the two towers, like if you look really closely, they look at like similar at first sight, but when you get in close, this one, it definitely is different. The same with the dogs. This one has his tail up. This one has his tail down. So is he more dominant? Is would the one on the left be the more dominant one because the moon is on the left, a subconscious, intuitive card. So we're giving more weight to the dog on the left with his tail up.
So is that your noble?
It is.
Flip the back. So let me see something here.
Which is the first Marseille. So the tail's up. Tail's up. Yeah.
But the coloring.
Yeah. The coloring too. Yeah.
So mine.
Oh, it's flipped.
It's reversed. So
because
mine.
Interesting.
Because my deck is actually a photocopy of the original.
Yeah. And this is the cleaned up.
That is it. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the Dodell.
That's
Mine's
why.
the Dodell.
That's why.
This is the Noble. Okay.
Yeah. There's the Noble.
There's the Noble. Okay, had me worried there.
Yeah. Things get flipped around. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So in the recreation, you can really tell the color difference. There's a slight more yellow in this one.
Yep.
And again, mine is a photocopy.
Yeah. And this is the cleaned up.
Right.
But see that the tail's up, so more dominance to the left could be.
Well, actually, even if you come along and you look at the conver, the tail even looks like a crescent.
Yeah. And they
So
took it
by the time we come to 1760.
Yeah. But I see the towers as possibly representing two things. So again, you're linking this card. It's the 18th card, going back to 8, which is justice. So if you're doing cycles of 10, so what is this card all about as an 8, numerologically? And I see it as the distinguishing between opposites. You've got the wolf and the dog. They look the same in the twilight. We've got these two towers. They could be representing things as different as science and religion.
Well, it is a bilateral card, so it's almost like if you cut it in half, you could almost see it's almost a mirror reflection of itself.
Yes.
Like a scale would be.
And
here's and as a matter of fact, if you look, it even looks like a scale.
It does. So, but the scale is weighing different things. They might look the same at first sight, but on closer scrutiny, if that's the whole point of the card, is being able to tell between these differences and balancing those two extremes. So I've got this.
And yes, so just so
quote, go ahead.
And just so people really understand what we're saying here, because you touched on it, but some people would say that this card would actually be 10 plus 5 plus 3 and then bringing it down. But I'm with Michael. I believe that the cards are actually a cycle of 10.
Yeah.
And so once you get to the number 10, you're starting over again, going 1, 2, 3 until you get to 20.
Right.
Then you start over 1, 2, 3, 4. And I see it like he does the same way as a cycle of 10.
There's a lot of correspondences that way that I find.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I've got this book by Levi, The History of Magic, and he refers to the equilibrium, which is the whole occult sciences. It always comes back to equilibrium, and the moon is all about equilibrium. It's finding that balance. And he says, moral equilibrium is the concurrence of science and faith, distinct in their forces, but joined in their action to endow the spirit and heart of man with rule, which is reason. The science which denies faith is not less unreasonable than the faith which denies science. So these two towers, one of them could be a temple, one of them could be a research scientific lab. And both are important.
And you have to walk that balance.
You have to walk that balance right through the middle. And this other quote that I wanted to say, when the law of equilibrium is understood more adequately, it will put an end to all the wars and revolutions of the old world. That's heavy stuff. Yeah. But the whole idea is you're finding the truth. So the real truth some say, is that everything is one, right? And then when it manifests and it becomes on this mortal plane, it breaks into dualities. So you have all of a sudden there's science and magic, or psychic and psychological, or all these things. But really, if we could take the veil off, these things are all really just one thing. But because we can't understand it that way, we break it all apart, and that's why there's so much trouble in the world, because we're trying to say, oh, well, it's not that, it's this, when it's really all one. Right. But I'm getting really deep here.
We're just staring at the shadows in a cave and can't see what's actually causing the shadows.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we can go back to Plato on that.
Yep.
But yeah, so the card, as we already said, so just to focus on the 8 also, 8s are about progress.
Sure.
And about moving forward. And that's why you have the 8 of Wands. That's why you have things where you're moving forward. And so the thing with this card that I see is that the crab is that alligator brain.
Right.
That is that instinctual.
I need to get out of here. I need to get out of the muck.
That's what causes us to breathe. That's what causes us to get scared. And as Koi Deli here has through old crab in French equals cancer, which also means a canker, hard swelling, but it's also an injection of denial or forbidding. Ooh. Yeah. And
but going back,
and that's instinctual.
Yeah, talking about instinctual. So the Hebrew word that's associated with this card, Qoph, Qoph, it means the back of the head, and the back of the head is the cerebellum of the brain, which regulates fear, guilt, and
I thought the cerebellum was in the front.
I could be wrong, but according to my notes,
yeah. But it's still. But the point is that yes, it's back there is why you can lose the front part of your brain and still be breathing, still have all the autonomic responses,
right?
Because that is the part that you don't think.
But in the back is what we don't see,
yep.
Right? And so we've got that connection to the unseen,
yep.
that you were talking about.
And I always call that the alligator brain.
The alligator brain, yep.
Because that's where our instincts are. That's when we feel fear, we're going back to, if you believe in evolution, millions and millions of years, this crab had to either becomes extinct.
Yeah.
Either it learns fear or it becomes extinct.
Right.
Ends up on some dinosaur's, plate. With a little bit of butter and cooked until it's nice and red. But so we have that, and then as we move up higher, then we do have the two animals, and so a lot of interpretations for these is that if it's a wolf and it's a dog, right. You have the wild.
Yep, and the domestic.
And the domesticated.
And it's these two, the polarized things again, and it's finding that balance between them, finding the truth between them, which is the whole lesson of the card is being able to see the differences but see the similarities as well. To balance them. Right.
So to even be able to move through and as we go along, we see Oswald Wirth creates a path, and we see others creating a path. And I believe that there is a path because we're moving towards enlightenment. And it's like,
those mountains, yeah.
And so we can see that they can stare at it, but it's like until we move past these, because domesticated means that you're not going to be able to accept things either because you're going to do what you're told.
Right.
Sit,
stay.
And if you're if you're wild, if you have your the wild instincts, it's like you may not be able to comprehend. It's like finding that balance that you were talking about.
Absolutely.
So that we can go between
the towers,
the different towers.
Exactly. And moving to Crowley's Thoth deck. Here,
I knew you were going to pull that out.
I knew you knew. So, do you see these two characters?
I do.
Now, they look the same, right?
Well, they kind of do, almost like a mirror reflection, except
but they're not.
Yep, go ahead.
So on closer look, they look they look the same until you get studying them. Actually, one is Set and the other is Anubis. And Set is the warlike, deceptive god. Anubis is the judge and guide for souls to the next realm. So they may be.
And
similar.
which one's Anubis?
Anubis is the one.
I believe he's the darker one. Am I correct in that? You're the Thoth guy.
Set is the warlike one, and so you've got the giveaway is.
Well, now it's like two swords. It's like so you've got the two of swords, and the swords are identical.
So this one has the horns. So I believe that Set is the one on the right, and Anubis
that's what I thought.
Anubis is on the left.
When I read it, yeah.
Yep. Anubis is on the left, I believe.
And we still have the two dogs here on that one.
Right, and then you've got this scarab beetle, which is actually a water spider, and it is got the sun, which you'll see a lot of Egyptian stuff. So he's carrying the sun out of the dark water or into it, but that's the whole confronting the darkness. And as Crowley liked to said, how splendid is the adventure. It's the dark night of the soul, yes, but it'll change because the moon changes. And so, he's going in again into the negative aspects of seeing this card as a dark night of the soul, which I don't necessarily agree with. I see the moon as very positive, but all cards have both good and bad in them.
Right.
But the main thing is that it will change. So even if it is a dark time, you'll get through it.
And I do like the symbolism on this card because, yes, that is a border between water and land.
Right.
It's kind of hard to tell with this card because it's very two-dimensional. But you can see that so is the spider actually capturing the reflection of the sun in the water? And then we can see that it's actually connecting out, and the path is actually going to. So that's the crescent moon. So is it the sun, the path going out further until it reaches the male to the female? I haven't seen anything talking about that, but I had noticed that when I was looking at it.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Because it does look like the water beetle.
Yeah.
Is embracing the picture, the reflection, and it looks like a reflection to me. And then the power of that going up to the moon. Yeah.
But you've got all that, see the red and blue balancing currents there? I mean, repeated up here too. It's just, that's the main, point of the card is that balance.
So I don't use it regulates breathing on it. Yeah. So Buns Fish is agreeing with us about that. So because again, just that intuitive thing. I love pictures. I love interpreting.
Absolutely.
So if you ever see me read, I read every morning at 7:15. I do a tarot reflection. I don't believe that the cards have a set meaning. I look at the card and I go with what the picture and what intuition tells me.
Always the best way.
But when I see this, so the same way I see the
crawfish,
the crayfish, the whole crawfish in there.
Yeah.
I see that the spider is actually something bigger.
Yeah.
So I see this to be the spider, that to be the heart of the spider, and these
to be his
legs. His mystical legs.
Yeah, I see that too.
Ooh,
yeah, that's cool.
Look at that.
See?
That's why I love reading.
The curling deck is growing on you.
Well, no. It's whatever deck I happen to use at the time. Yeah. It's like my imagination just goes, and it's like I automatically just want to start reading from the energy that's coming from the pictures.
Absolutely. Right? And I've got another quote about the whole balancing of forces. So the Zohar, are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So there's a famous quote in that says, "The unbalanced forces must perish in the void." So that's the moon card to a T. Is if you don't balance these forces, then it'll perish.
Yep.
And Manly Hall says equilibrium is immortality, a state in which excess ceases. So like nirvana, it's perfection, an ideal state of not wanting.
Mm-hmm.
And
Not the band.
Not the band.
Okay.
But that's what we're trying to all get to is this equilibrium and just everything in balance and in peace and harmony. And if we can manage that, we can stop wars and all the rest.
Well, the tarot is loaded with balances.
Yes.
So we have the High Priestess and the Hierophant, which is the Pope
magician.
or the Papist. Well, no, because it's Pope and Papist. So, however,
That's
okay,
one way.
I'm going to reflect it back like
That's
that.
one way.
You know, so we have that, and then we have the kings and the queens. We have all that, and the moon we have. The moon is seen as the feminine side, so we have the moon and the sun.
Yep.
So there's a reason why I believe those two are together.
Absolutely.
And actually, we have the star, the moon, and the sun.
And the lightning bolt, the star, the moon, and the sun.
Well, one of the speculations is why is it with the star, the moon, and the sun is because in the game, one would overpower the other. So what's brighter than a star? The moon. What's brighter than the moon?
Yep.
The sun.
But notice
and
how
sun is the masculine.
And I would say that the lightning bolt is masculine. And isn't that interesting how it's flipped? So if the masculine comes first with the lightning bolt, and then the feminine with the star comes next, then it's the moon feminine, and then it's the masculine. So it balances on either end.
I never really thought. Well, and that's absolutely. I mean, if you want to see the tower as masculine, I can certainly.
A lightning bolt is a very masculine energy.
And a tower is also very phallic.
Right.
So then
there you go.
And you mess with the wrong woman, and that lightning bolt comes in and it burns.
Well, now we're mixing metaphors.
Okay. So I
got an ointment for that.
So we've got the star,
yes.
the moon, and then the sun. But so we do have that balance, and we do have the balance between the masculine and the feminine, and the sun's going to be coming up next week.
Before we jump forward into that, though, do you mind if I tell you a little bit about the card that I'm working on?
My gosh, I want you to tell me that. That's why we started this whole damn thing.
All right.
Is to guilt you into
getting it done.
Yeah, guilt you. Oh, look at that.
Whoa, it's a infinity.
I know. It's to guilt you into finishing your damn deck.
It patience. Patience is
guilt. No, his wife wants me to guilt him into finishing his deck.
Guilt is washes all.
She pays me.
All right, so my deck, my moon, it's going to have the moon personified by the triple goddess, Hecate,
Cool.
Selene, and Artemis.
Yep.
So guardian, guide, and gatekeeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
So much like Set and Anubis, he was the judge. Anubis is the judge and guide, and Set is the warlike guard. So we've got the guardian, guide, and gatekeeper aspects of the goddess to represent the moon. So I'm gonna have her three faces so that she's.
Yep.
Got the full moon and the two crescents, and then I'm keeping the road red, to be that middle world crossroads.
Gotcha.
The black subconscious waters below, the white celestial moon. So I've got those things covered. She's got a snake and a dagger in one arm or two arms because she's got 4 different arms going on, or at least 2 different arms. Yeah, 2 arms. Sorry, not 4 arms. 3 heads with 2 arms. But yeah, so she's got a snake and a dagger in one arm to guard. She does have 4 arms because she's got torches too. So she's got the torches to guide.
That's right. Now I remember what. Yes. No, you're right. It's 4.
And keys and she's got keys on one
You
side.
only have 100 cards to remember.
I know.
His deck's got 100 cards.
I know.
So anyway,
But
this is 1 out of the 100.
1 out of the 100. But yeah, so she's got the keys to unlock the mysteries for the worthy.
Yeah.
And then her canine guards, I've got a dog on one side and a wolf on the other, to attack those that still cling to the ego. It's a test to stay on the path and lead between the two towers, which I'm going to have representing as science and spirituality with like symbols on each tower to represent those things. But that's the whole idea with the separate domains that enhance each other. Transcendental knowledge reserved to those who are masters of their passions. The balance of mystical and factual. So mind-blowing things. But yeah, what was my notes here? Although polarities are sometimes tricky, it's necessary to distinguish between and appreciate opposites in order for harmony. And secret wisdom is revealed to those worthy, but proceed with caution. Patience is key.
That sounds. I can't wait till we actually see it. Though.
I know.
Do you have a due date? Have you set yourself a time?
Because you don't have a firm due date.
You have how many cards do you have done now? Like 60?
Definitely more than 60. But I'm not going as fast as I wanted to, because
as your wife wants you
as
to.
my wife definitely wants me to, because
she's a wonderful person.
She is, and my greatest muse and supporter. But
no,
she likes the fire.
I am your greatest muse.
You too.
She's your bigger supporter, but I am a muse.
You are a muse.
Amusing.
I was just gonna say that, but yeah, my trouble was that
Am I on one of your decks? On one of your cards, at least.
You are.
Okay, cool.
You are.
Okay.
The king of
that's right.
cups.
Yes, that's
the
right.
King of cups.
Yes.
But yeah. Right? Yeah, I gotta put you in there. But yeah, the whole idea was I wanted to do them as best as I possibly could. So I had them, like, I was making some good progress, and then I thought, this isn't good enough. I need to up my game a little bit more. I wasn't happy with it. And so I went back and I redid all the ones that I had done. So my wife is going crazy, but I'm getting so much happier with them. So when they are finally finished, I don't have to say, oh, well, this is just a rough draft, or I could do better. This is really, I'm once they are released, it's like, these are going to be good.
Well, until the second edition.
And hopefully there won't have to be a second edition, because I'm trying to make them as good as I possibly can.
Okay, so we have somebody in here, Corey Deli, who has, well, she says the Crowley Harris.
Crowley.
Yeah. Crowley. They are both images of Anubis, not Anubis in Set. It is Anubis, the Watcher in the Twilight. The god stands upon the threshold, the jackal god of Chem, who stands in double form between the ways. And she's saying that she's quoting the BOT, which stands for
Book of.
I've got it's in the deck. It says what it is, but I forgot.
That's interesting. Okay, so I'm not saying that I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm sure that it is quoted in that book. However, the book that I have, Understanding the Thoth Tarot, it's one of the and I'll footnote the author, but he is a major scholar, and had interviews with people that were very close to Crowley, and he definitely said that one was Set and the other was Anubis. And if you look closely,
hold on, are you saying that Crowley might have actually given two different definitions for something anyway?
Well, that is possible. The trickster that he was.
The trickster.
Yeah.
So yes,
but
and so I will end up looking at book of. Thank you, BOT. Like I said,
the Book of Thoth.
Yeah. I do a lot.
Written
more
by
study.
Crowley. Okay, so that and
thank you.
And Crowley was, and to be fair, Crowley was notorious for giving multiple
But that is his. So you know what?
Well, that was
actually look that up because I love footnotes. You know me.
Absolutely. But he did.
Thank you, Coy Downing.
I will put my footnote also by Crowley because Crowley liked to give two different things just to confuse people, like the moon.
See, that's why I like having people in the audience. So it gives us something to. I like doing research. I like doing. So that's cool. Yeah, that is cool. And I could see it both ways, to tell you the truth.
Absolutely. And
again, I read definitions and then throw them out the window anyway because it has nothing with what I see.
Right. It's always good to go with the gut. So if you see Anubis on both sides, more power to you.
And if he actually writes it, that's cool.
Yeah.
So either way, nobody's wrong when it comes
There is no right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. All right, do we have time to do a little...
Well, yeah, so one thing that we like to close out with is I always want to see how the card looks in a reading, because again, as I always say, it's like we can have all the definitions we want in the world and we can read. I've got dozens of books, but in a reading, it's going to totally reflect something different.
Something new.
I think that maybe using the Rider-Waite.
Sure.
Do we want to do just one again like we did before?
I think so.
Okay.
Because we're running short in time.
Yeah. So just to see how it would work, and so with the moon and the Rider-Waite, we have the two different sides. We've talked about the scales and we talked about the balancing. I never thought that much about the balancing or the fact that it is bilateral. It's
right
almost,
down the middle. Yep.
Yep. Almost absolutely. One side is dark, one side is light. When we look at this one.
Yep.
And we have a peaceful moon looking down. So my question with this would be then maybe, and tell me what you think, is that I might want to know what it is that is psychically blocking me. Mm-hmm. What is it maybe that I'm not seeing?
What's obscured by shadows?
What's obscured by shadows? And then what do I need to focus the light on the right-hand side? So here, let me pull up the two cameras. So on the left here, it's what's blocking. Mm-hmm. And on the right-hand side, what is
illuminating?
There
you go.
What is blocking and what is illuminating? So let me pull this out here. So, and it's just I need to stop acting like I'm actually going to do a reading.
Well, we are. It's a mini reading, a demonstration.
Mini reading. So, that is the shadow. This is the light. This is what is blocking.
Ah.
The hangman reversed. That impatience, that need to push through. And as a matter of fact, it's almost like he's reflecting the moon here, like he wants to be enlightened and things like that. He's being impatient, but this is
not.
fake. That's not for real.
Yeah.
Okay, because he's
forcing it.
Yep. So then here is what we need to know. Okay, so here we have the 7. So we have the hangman, which is 12, and then we have the number 7 here, 7 of wands. So if I was looking at this, we have to walk through. We have this path that we have to walk through. But the hangman reversed, which is about, the hangman to me is about sacrifice and acceptance.
To gain that spiritual knowledge.
Exactly.
When it's upright.
Right, but so when it's reversed, it's like we're not willing to put that effort in. We want what we want when we want it. We are that crab. We are that wolf.
We want that quick result instead of working for it.
So we are reacting.
Yeah.
And so on the other side then, so what we need to do to combat that for the light is that we need to stand up to all that negativeness. We need to stand up for ourselves, because with the 7 of wands, so 7s are about potential and harnessing that potential.
Striving for new things, but breaking through and seeing things from a different aspect. Yeah.
So with this, I'm seeing that on the dark side here, we have that impatience.
On the dark side of the moon.
that inability to sacrifice, that inability to let go. He's just emulating. He thinks that he knows because he's trying to look like the moon up there, but that's false. That's fake.
Yes.
This is saying that we need to strive, and it's not going to be easy. We have to battle our fears, which are all in front of us.
Right. It's a long and winding road. It's not an easy path. This is up through the mountains, and you're just a little crawfish. You think you're gonna make it all the way? Just easy peasy? I don't think so. It's a tough journey, and there's people that want to eat you, and it's a long way from the water up to the enlightenment. So
I might even ask.
It's tough.
I might even ask, what are the 6 things here that are the fears?
Yeah.
The 6 things that are challenging, that you have to actually push through to even be able to get through this path. I would write out what those 6 things are. What is it that you don't want to sacrifice? What is it that you don't want to accept? What is it that it's going to take so that when we flip that around and we do have the acceptance? So this would actually be a reading of action, of picking up pen and paper for me.
And then look, when you do flip the hangman to where he needs to be, then it balances.
You have a reflection.
And then it balances.
It's like he's reflected in the water now.
Yep. So that's what we want. We want to flip that hangman so that he is hanging.
Look at that. The earth even extends to the tree. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it does. Connects like puzzle pieces. Here we go.
Yep. So, but that's how I see the moon card. That's how I like to read it. Again, the moon, obviously, since I said that, hey, he's reflecting this, it's like, no, that's not written in any book, but it's based on the fact that I see that the moon with its mysteries and things like that, it's like you can't fake that.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. Don't be deceived by the shadows. Learn to see the similarities between things. Maybe
see things for the way they are and accept the challenge.
Not only just the challenge, but accept that there's good and bad in everything. There's that your mortal nemesis is maybe your friend if you just think of things from a different perspective. It's just you need to enlighten yourself to see that we're really not all that different than the world forces us to sometimes want to be. Find that similarity, find that balance. That's the trick. Equilibrium.
Equilibrium?
Yeah.
Equilibrium.
Equilibrium.
That is the word of the day.
You know what I mean.
So, yes, to find that equilibrium.
Yes.
So, Michael, thank you again.
Thank you, Jamie.
That was fun. That was
it?
Energetic.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to tease you.
I know.
But it's all in good fun.
I know. So, what are we going to do next, Michael? Next week at 5:30.
The brightening continues. The sun.
The sun.
The sun will come out tomorrow, or at least next week.
So that's got actually that should be interesting. I can't wait to start the research on that. Looking at the history of it, all that wonderful stuff like that.
Indeed.
So with that, unless anybody else has any other questions, and again, Koi Deli, thank you for everything that you've said. And the God Forma set is very different. Agreed. So, and with that. I hope everybody has an amazing week.
Yes.
If you want, if you want to get up at 7:15 Eastern Standard Time, that's when I do the tarot reflections every day, every Monday through Friday.
And if you want to find me on Twitch, I'm Offbeat Artwork there, and I jump in now and then and do readings for people. So you can find me there, and also browse my artwork at offbeatartwork.com.
Yep. And MyTarot.org. MyTarot.org has got links to our Facebook page where we hang out. And that's where I do the readings, and that's where we do tarot discussions and announcements and stuff like that. So And it's also got a link to the Facebook page, to YouTube, that's got all the other recordings that we have.
Indeed.
So, with that, again, thank you.
Of course. See you later, guys.
Bye. Miss you all already.